It's episode 279 of the Cassius Morris Show. Thanks for tuning in to this brand new edition of the podcast. Finally back with a concert review video. I know it's been a long time since I've had the chance to actually sit down and do one of these, and it feels good, man. Listen, I'm really glad that shows are back. There's actually been so many shows going on lately, and I think a lot of people can probably relate to this. I almost feel like I've been missing out, but things are definitely back and things are definitely booming. And the show we're going to be talking about today was, of course, Pink Floyd's Roger Waters live in the round at Rogers Place in Edmonton, Canada. This show went down on September 13th, 2022. And I got to tell you guys, man, I had to take a couple days to just sit back and really process this one. This was a show that I don't really see it as just a concert. This felt more like a full encompassing experience, a Broadway experience, if that makes sense. This was a lot more akin to a theater show, really, than it seemed to be a concert, but we're going to get into that in just a second. Now, this show was announced back in 2020, and of course, it was held back by the COVID pandemic, so most of the people who were coming to this show had held on to their tickets for about 2 years, so the excitement was definitely palpable in the air. Now, the Rogers Place seats about 10 to 12,000 people for a concert. It's usually held for hockey games and things like that, so the capacity may be a little bit larger in that case, but for this show, we were almost fully at capacity, and it was probably the busiest I've ever seen the lobby at a concert at the Rogers Arena. The way they went about it for this show is that they opened doors at 7 p.m., and the show was slated to start right at 8 o'clock. When you walked into the building, there was no music playing through the speakers while people were waiting for the show. Pretty much every concert I've ever been to, guys, when you walk in there, there's music playing, not from the artists that you're going to see, but from different bands, just to get people sort of warmed up while they're chattering and getting their drinks and food, whatever. But this was a completely different experience. Again, very much like a theater show. You go in, there's no music playing, and all you really heard was the chatter and talking of thousands and thousands of voices, which was really interesting to me at the time. Listen, when I was walking into the building, you know Alice in Wonderland when she finds like a little stamp that says, "Eat me. One pill makes you larger, one thing makes you small." I found one of those while I was walking in. You know, a little birdie dropped it on the side of the street. So I was in the right state of mind for some shit like this. So I was definitely just taking it all in, looking at the thousands and thousands of people ready to see Roger Waters, and sort of taking in the fact that I'm looking at what people have been calling a dying genre really thriving, which we're going to talk about in just a second. Now, the stage for this concert was set in the middle of the arena, so there really wasn't a bad seat in the house. Whether you were up in the 200 section or down on the floor, you were going to get a pretty good, decent vantage point of this entire stage and production set. Now, once the show finally started, they kicked it off with some of the loudest sounds I have ever heard at a concert, guys. Listen, I've been to at least 100 concerts. When they played these sound effects of thunderstorms to start the show, and all the screens were showing this dystopian sort of thunder and lightning world that was really, really very Floyd and very cool, they're playing these sound effects of a thunderstorm, and it literally sounded like hellfire was raining down into the arena. It was so loud, and before the show too, there were little rumblings playing over the speakers, like rumblings of thunder when the lights were on. I didn't know if this was just the speakers malfunctioning, if they were testing something, but once we got hit with this massive thunderstorm in the arena, so to speak, I definitely knew that it was part of the show. So I was just perplexed really as to where they were going to take it and what they were going to do, when then suddenly they broke into a super slow rendition of Comfortably Numb. So they started the show, guys, with Comfortably Numb. This completely took me aback. I was basically just sitting there with my jaw open, and this rendition of Comfortably Numb, the whole time they're still playing the thunder. They're working it. It wasn't upbeat. There was no guitar solo, no drums barely. It was just a very, very quiet rendition of Comfortably Numb. And the way they went about it to open the show on such a quiet note was so unique in comparison to most shows that you see where they probably do their most hype song to start it up. This was really different, and again, just an all-encompassing experience in a very unique way. They went straight from this version into Another Brick in the Wall, of course prefaced by The Happiest Days of Our Lives. They lifted the video screens, and Roger Waters himself made his grand debut. Now, again, this is a song I did not expect to hear until probably like the end of the second encore, but I think it's almost smart for Roger Waters to be coming out and playing it like this. At the end of the day, these fair weather fans who come just to hear Comfortably Numb, just to hear Another Brick, they can get that out of the way in the beginning of the concert, and you can go about your business. They can leave halfway through the show, and it's really going to leave you with the real fans that are going to stick around. So, I mean, I think it's good to get those songs out of the way right off the bat. He then went into a couple of solo tracks, and now the visuals were stunning right away in this show. He had all types of different things tackling propaganda, a lot of different visuals tackling the us versus them mentality. And look, when you go to see Roger Waters, you know that it's going to be talking about some human rights stuff. You're going to see some of his politics. This show actually started with an announcement saying, if you're one of those people who loves Roger Waters but hates his politics, do yourself a favor and fuck off to the bar now. That's literally what the beginning of the show said. So obviously we were in for a lot of different opinions, tackling a lot of different issues. And I remember that announcement throughout the show. I mean, if you're going to sit there and proceed to be offended after that, it's kind of like you missed the point and you signed up for it at this point. That being said, though, if you're somebody who is sensitive about any types of political issues, anything talking about social unrest, injustice, racism, if this is something that you are very sensitive about, and if you're looking for a night of escape from that, this is definitely not the show for you. As this part of the show went on, he went into his solo tracks, The Power That Be and The Bravery of Being Out of Range. These are two new songs to me, by the way. He also played The Bar, which I believe was off his latest solo album. And as he was playing this, he showed so many people who have been killed for so many different reasons. He touched on Israel and Palestine. He touched on the social issues in the States, the killings of, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. He talked about indigenous issues and injustice, which he does this all over the world. But the thing with that one that I don't think Roger Waters understands, maybe he does. I mean, maybe I should give him more credit than that. But the whole thing here with indigenous issues is a specifically tense topic right now. And it was very tense in the room when this stuff was playing on the screen. Not from me, I was fine with it. But a lot of people in the room were tense. It was definitely something that maybe caused some division in the room, and it's very current and it's happening right now. So again, if you're looking for a night of escape from that, this wasn't it. He showed everybody up on the screens, from Ronald Reagan to Joe Biden to Donald Trump. Interesting how he didn't mention Obama, but then again, he didn't mention Clinton, I don't think. He didn't mention Bush. So there was a lot of different stuff that was mentioned. But I think it was very well put together. It taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And again, I don't agree with everything he puts up there, but I think that's not who agrees with everything anybody says. I think if you agree with anything, everything a certain person says or that any given person says, you're not really thinking for yourself. I'm sure that no matter how much you love somebody or admire them or whatever, I'm sure there's plenty of things that you guys don't agree on. So, personally, I'm not seeking an echo chamber of opinions. I'm not seeking people who echo my opinions. I'm seeking to hear other people's perspectives and take what I can from it, whether I agree or not. So that's just what I took out of the show. After the segment of solo songs, which was really good, by the way, we saw him on the piano a little bit. This really opened me up to Roger Waters as a solo artist, something that I wasn't really very much familiar with. He went from this into Wish You Were Here. Of course, some stuff from, I think it might be one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums. Honestly, for me, it's my top three, and I can't put these in order because it's impossible. It's Animals, Metal, and Wish You Were Here. That is the top three Pink Floyd albums for me. And I like the fact that with each one of these albums, he did a section for them. So for this section, he did Have a Cigar, Wish You Were Here, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And he did an incredible medley. Shine On was really when I think the musical chops kicked in. It was really just, the level of musicianship from his band is incredible. He had the live saxophone players, he had the live keyboard players, he had the live background singers, and that was something that I really liked about this too. I think Roger Waters plays it very, very smart. You need some fresh young blood up there to keep things rolling. And the way that he inserts himself in it is perfect. The way he sort of orchestrates it is perfect. I think they were a phenomenal band on their own, honestly. And that's not always the case when it's a main star with sort of people that we don't know their names necessarily. They're great musicians, but we don't know their names. So sometimes they let that affect sort of how badass their performance is or whatever. These people gave it their all, and it was really great to see. From there, he went into Sheep, and this is when the pig came out. Listen, he switched it up a little bit. The last time I saw Roger Waters, he did pigs. This time he did sheep. And honestly, I think this is perfectly appropriate for the world we're living in now. I was really, a little bit freaked out watching this show, just thinking back to all the stuff that they wrote in the 60s and 70s. I guess mostly in the 70s, not really the 60s. They predicted so much, and they were in tune with so much when it comes to authoritarianism, when it comes to sort of big brother and big government, and a lot of these different topics, man. And it really made me think back. Some of the only music that really made sense to me that could relate to the pandemic was from people like Pink Floyd and people like Black Sabbath. The way that they wrote about these issues and how people can become so drunk with power and so corrupt, and where that can lead was really astonishing. The fact that he was talking about this too really hit me. During all these songs, Roger Waters was either taking a break to talk about how he wrote these songs or putting up notes that seemed to be written by him, sort of journal entries. He was putting sentences up on the screen, and you could read along as to how he wrote these songs. So during Wish You Were Here, he was talking about how he was going through his divorce. He was near a nervous breakdown at this point. He talked a lot about being near a nervous breakdown. And I thought this was so fascinating because, for me, David Gilmour is a lot different than Roger Waters for me, because he was, I think, more of a musicality guy. I think Roger Waters is equally incredible musically, but he's more the idea guy, and he knows how to take the issues of life and madness and time, and, as does Gilmour. But he knows how to take just someone's screws getting loose and really just make that into a beautiful, tragic story. Just his incredible talent for what he does was just so striking to me. Sitting there watching the care he uses playing the piano, and the care he uses watching each and every person in his band to make sure that they're in tune and they're in sync, and also giving us the backstory for all of this incredible, timeless music. It was really an honor and a privilege to watch him perform. It was really, really well executed. It was really well done. And of course, this is where sheeps are flying, pigs are flying, animals are flying. They did the whole version of Sheep. And again, the vocal performance was absolutely impeccable. After Sheep, he actually got off stage and walked through the crowd and waved everybody goodbye and walked backstage. The lights came on. At this point, he'd been performing for about an hour. And I was shocked. I was like, I can't believe it's already over. I don't want this to be over. He was only playing for an hour. A good segment of the crowd actually got up and left, but then it turns out they were leaving for intermission, because I heard some murmurs of intermission, some murmurs that he's coming back. So I said, look, I'm not going nowhere. I'm sitting my ass in the seat. Usually for these concerts, they're very predictable. They'll walk off stage for 2 seconds and come back. It seemed like they were tearing down the stage. So after about 35 minutes, the lights went down again. And I was ready to rock again, man. Listen, I had no clue what to expect. We've already seen so many iconic, legendary pieces of music. I didn't know what was coming next. And all of a sudden, we hear helicopters. I hear all the sound effects from the wall. And boom, right on the drop of the song In the Flesh, all the flags come down and lower of the wall, and you get all the imagery, you get all the tools, you get the axes. Roger Waters comes out on stage in his complete wall outfit. He's got the coat, the glasses, he's got the whole thing on. There's the guards up there trying to arrest him, the whole fucking nine. This was really, really stunning to me. I mean, I've never seen the Wall tour. When he did the Wall stuff last time, when I saw him, the last show was very different. This concert this time felt a lot more serious, a lot more intimate. The last one was basically just copy and paste Pink Floyd back in, 2019, 2018. Still very good, but this was on another level. Now, at this point, I was sitting in the back of the lower bowl, what would have been the back of the stadium, but again, it was a stage in the middle, so it was completely centralized. So I was sitting back there, and each end of the arena had a runway where Roger Waters could walk down the runway and be closer to that part of the lower bowl. So for this section, he walks to my part of the lower bowl. And he walks with the two people dressed as guards, so they're in complete black suits. They got face masks on. They look like they're in a dystopian universe. And they walk over to my section, and right when they're about to grab Roger Waters, he's sort of right in front of my section, and he reaches down and he grabs what looks like a flamethrower. So Roger Waters has this flamethrower in his hand. He's got a guard on either side of him in black suits. And he just happens to be right in front of where I'm at. He's about 100 yards away, roughly, type of thing. Now, he can't see me. It's not like he could see me or he decided to do this, but just where he decided to stand, he pointed the barrel of what I thought was a flamethrower. Basically, it was right between my eyes. So again, it's not like he chose me, but he picks this up, and all of a sudden I see this device from, so far away, pointed right between my eyes. So I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I'm tripping the fuck out. I'm sitting here like, oh shit, it's already too much. The lights are going. We got the wall. I'm already fucking sweating. My spine hurts and shit. So then fucking this dude fires off this, I thought it was a flamethrower, and it turns out it was a prop gun. So Roger Waters walks over to the fucking end of the stage, guys, picks up a prop gun, points it directly at me, and fires it off. This also had prop muzzle shots. So as he fired this, not only am I seeing flashes coming directly out of the muzzle of this gun pointing directly at my face, I'm hearing the loudest fucking gunshots I've ever heard in my life being amplified through the concert speakers. When I tell you guys I shit myself, I damn near am not even fucking exaggerating. I nearly jumped out of my fucking seat. Like fucking this dude shot right at me, and then he starts shooting it around the arena. Honestly, guys, that scared the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was not expecting that at all. The second that happened, I was like, okay, man, I can go home tonight and say that I got my money's worth. I got my money's worth because you don't get your money's worth unless you trip the fuck out and jump out of your body, leave your body at a Pink Floyd show. He went from In the Flesh into Run Like Hell. He just kept going, and all the people in the crowd obviously really enjoying The Wall. He did Deja Vu as well, one of his solo tracks, and again, just beautiful, beautiful music. The more he kept putting up on the screen, it was like the more people kept getting uncomfortable. He started going crazy with the messaging. He put fuck the Supreme Court. Basically, he said fuck your rights. He said fuck your guns. He put a lot of stuff up there that made, it was interesting to see who's clapping for what. But again, I think it can get a little bit overboard, but at the same time, he gave a disclaimer. If you don't like it, get out. And guess what? He's one of the best to ever do it. I think just under the Beatles, Paul McCartney, I think Roger Waters is one of the greatest living composers of all time. So he can do whatever the fuck he wants in my books. But this part right here, this solo part, right before he went into some Dark Side tracks, was really, really, really heavy on the politics. The Dark Side part of the show might have been my favorite part of the show. He went into Money, which, look, just seeing him play that bass line was so cool. The guy who was filling in for David Gilmour, kicking ass. He sang this song. It was good to hear different people singing songs too, because Roger Waters, he's not my favorite vocalist of Pink Floyd. I like it when he sings certain songs, and this is exactly what we got live. We need some of that transition when it's Pink Floyd when it comes to the vocals when they're doing those tracks. So he went from that to Us and Them. Of course, the ultimate staple, Any Color You Like, Brain Damage, Eclipse. We got 5 songs from Dark Side of the Moon, guys. And he flew up the triangle, he had the rainbows, he had the whole fucking deal. Honestly, the main thing with this show is if you're a Pink Floyd fan and or a Roger Waters fan, you definitely got your money's worth in both scenarios here. This was the perfect balance for people who maybe, like me, weren't really familiar with his solo stuff, weren't really familiar with, or well-versed in it whatsoever. This is a perfect introduction. I think the songs he did perfectly hit the mark. The care in which he did it and the energy that he brought to the whole stage was phenomenal. Overall, the concert set as well was just super outstanding. It brought us through all different eras of Pink Floyd. It brought us through all different eras of what's happening now and back then socially, politically. And I think it's important. I think that there's a fine balance and a fine line of incorporating serious issues into entertainment And I think that it's okay if you leave with something to think about other than that was a great concert. I think it's okay if they include a little something in there for you to leave with on top of that. So, definitely just a really, really great show. And overall, out of 10, I would rate this a solid 9.5 out of 10. Phenomenal concert. I hope to see Roger Waters again. Let me know if you guys are going to go see him on this tour, or if you've ever seen him live down in the comment section. Hopefully you enjoyed this concert experience video. The next one I'm going to have coming out is going to be Kid Cudi. So that's going to be dropping in about 2 weeks. I'm going to go see him live on the current tour that he's doing, and he has his Netflix show dropping soon as well. So we're going to have a lot of content coming up for the concerts. Do not miss it. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and rock on.